So today we are looking at BI, generative AI, and code interpreter. So these are three amazing technologies. Very proud to show you today. Just a little bit about myself. I do now have 22 cloud certifications. All the way, a bunch of Azure ones, a handful of AWS ones, and the three Google ones. I do have all the professional exams as well. I've been an old guy. I've been around for a while. I've worked everything from a developer to down manager of training, and I have a ton of degrees from an AA to a PhD ABD, all but dissertation in nuclear physics. So there you go. Today's presentation, we're going to start with an icebreaker. I'm going to do an introduction to generative AI, making a jokes GPT. That's just get your feet wet. Then we'll do look at the PL 300 exam, talk about that, get practice questions, right? And I'll show you a few practice exam questions to get you ready for. And then I built an exam assistant for it, so I'll show that too as well. And then we'll talk about code interpreter. I have a nice financial analyst system I built using a GPT and a RAG system. Okay. Today we've got the PL 300 course, and I'm going to do DP 500 in January and mastering HashiCorp. These two may move, and quantum computation may move, because what's happened is, all of us last year were just trying to get our feet to learn this AI technology. So a lot of things started moving around to learn that. So over the Christmas break, I will be adding more events, and they will be cloud AI certification driven sessions. So specifically addressing how AI is developed in the cloud and the various, vendors such as Google and Azure and AWS, of course. Additionally, I will be running numerous hackathons. So if you want to be a part, let me know. And for you guys who are just getting into technology and you say, how do I got my certification, but I don't have any hands-on. So if you want to get some hands-on, specifically AI and the cloud, join a hackathon. I'd be more than glad to sign you up. Got a lot running. With that said, let's do the icebreaker. Okay, this is going to be actually a AI-driven icebreaker today, so it should be a little fun. Let me bring up ChatGPT. And if you guys are looking for the slides, let me go ahead and paste that link in again. Icebreaker today is I slipped on pavement holding a wedding cake. And so it is add the next 5 words. So we'll use ChatGPT to help us with this one. So we'll bring that up. So if you say I slipped on wedding cake, okay, add the next 5 words. So you're walking down the street, okay, and you slip on, and you're holding a wedding cake and you slip. And the next 5 words are, and it flew in the air. Okay, great. That's good. Okay, so who wants to predict what they think the next 5 words would be? Anybody want to take a shot at it? What do you think the next 5 words would be? And this is what ChatGPT is really good for, is the blank page. What do I say next? So I'll shoot the next 5 words out there for you, and they are landing on a nearby bench. Okay, next 5 words. What do you think? So what we got is I was walking, I slipped on the pavement holding a wedding cake, it flew in the air. Next 5 words were landing on a nearby bench. What's the next 5 words? Anyone want to shoot for it?
Landing on my face.
Landing on my face. Let's see what ChatGPT says. Startled, pigeons scattered in surprise. Okay. Okay, next five
Go on.
words. So that's just one way that you can use ChatGPT if you want to have a little fun and do an icebreaker. That's the first time I did interactive with ChatGPT, and I think it was a good one. All right, let's talk about generative AI. Just a quick introduction here. I recently did a presentation to the PMI, that's the Program Management Institute, on ChatGPT generative AI, and so this is part of that. And so basically, what we've done, we've solved the Tower of Babel problem. We've put human intelligence in a box, and when you do that, you get an exponential acceleration of knowledge and an extreme efficiency, plus extreme volatility. We saw that a couple of weeks ago when Sam Altman got fired, and everything seemed to kind of unravel, and then Microsoft got him back. So at least OpenAI is back. But it's not just OpenAI. A lot of these companies are competing, and we just saw Gemini come out. A little bit of chaos involved with Gemini coming out. I'm actually spending the weekend working with Gemini, and nice system. And that's kind of like what they call multimodal built from the ground up. We'll talk about what multimodal is a little bit today. With that, you also get a 10,000% efficiency. No kidding. Projects that used to take me, I guess 4 months to do, I can do in 6 hours. It's insane. And NASA just did, I think, a study on ice melt, which they also got a 10% efficiency on measurements using generative AI. The thing about it is a lot of people think it's going to take my job, but really this type of stuff we can do is increasing, expanding. And when you have an exponential increase in knowledge, you're going to have an exponential increase in work. And so if you just freeze frame and think everything stays the same, then yeah, well, maybe you're going to lose your job. But if you don't, if you're willing to change and grasp the new technology, because there's going to be new experiences. And some of the things we're going to see today, we could not do without generative AI. So there are new experiences, new things. One of the coolest thing I talked about multimodal, and that means that you can actually go from graphics to searching multidimensional space. So if you're a Scrum Master, for example, you can just got supersized. You can actually get your team together in 4 hours, draw a UML diagram of what you want to create, and as opposed to taking 3 sprints to do it, you just tell ChatGPT to print the code. Same thing with data schemas. Just draw out the data schema, and it'll print the schema code for you. Same thing with cloud. You can draw a cloud diagram and it'll create Terraform code for you. So now you can go from diagrams to code. And that's kind of a little bit introduction before I move on. We'll talk about building a jokes GPT app right away. Any comments before I move on? So the first GPT I'm going to take a look at today is called a jokes GPT. It's a real easy way to get in and build something. And it talks about the idea of using actions. So I'm going to bring up ChatGPT and just talk about the environment a little bit and talk about these new GPTs and what they are and how you can build programs using them. Okay, so we'll go ahead and refresh this. Bring this down a little bit. Let me expand this so you guys can see the whole screen. So, and what I want to do is I actually want to go ahead and take a look at some of my GPTs. So here's some of the GPTs I've written. And we're actually going to be looking at this real quick. So if you want to build a GPT, let me see if I can somehow make this bigger, but that's what I'm going to get. Okay. And if you want to build a GPT, then you're going to go here and you're going to have, the GPT Plus, which you're going to pay $20 a month for. And one of the things that Altman did is he went ahead and he created this kind of GPT creator, and it's like mini GPTs, and you build them to do specific things for you. It's really great for automating your task. And they work on actions in a sense. They can reach out to APIs and do anything an API can do. But it also has a RAG system where you can actually go in there and what a RAG system is, it's the retrieval augmented generation, where you can actually work with a vector database and actually extend what your ChatGPT can do. We'll see that today. And it has code interpreter, it has web search, it has DALL-E built in. So these are all great features. And so the way you build one is you hit the explore button here. And when you do that, it'll bring up an environment where you can actually build a chat for a GPT. And so here's a number of the GPTs that I built. We'll be looking at jokes today. And let me click on that one so you can see the edit mode. Okay, good. So if you want to build a GPT, you can do create or config. I typically, and usually if you're just learning, you start with create. But I work with config a lot now because I have a way I built them. And one of the things that I like to do is I like to build things in terms of steps. And so this is a real simple one. And basically what you're doing is you're saying when clicking, tell a joke to perform the following 3 steps. So there's right here, if I move this out of the way, you can see I have a button called tell a joke. And then you're going to click tell a joke over here, and it's going to tell a joke. And the code is really simple because you have this configuration code, and basically it says it has follow the first 3 steps. The first step is going to be ask the user how many jokes they would like. The next one's going to be generate the jokes from get jokes. So there's an API it's going to call out to. And I'm going to show you how to easily create an API schema. And the next one would be step 3, ask the user if they would like some more jokes and how many to finish, how many or to finish. And then you have a finish function. And you're just doing this all with words. You have a finish function that says summarize with a goodbye joke. So that's pretty interesting. And then but what's running on the background is an action. So you see this action right here. And this is the schema for that action. Okay. Now you might think, oh wow, Mike, you have to be pretty smart to write the schema, but I actually automatically generate it using ChatGPT. I'm going to show you how to do that today. But the thing that's important here with this schema is the actual operation ID. And you can see the operation ID is get jokes. So you saw that in my code. So whenever I run that code and it hits get jokes, it goes out and gets some jokes using this schema. Okay, so let's go ahead and run it so you guys can see it work. And then I'll show you how to generate a schema. And really all it is to it is pasting this schema in and then writing that configuration code and then you've got a program that gets jokes. Now, notice I've clicked web browsing, so I can go out to the web, and I've also clicked DALL-E, which can draw an image. In this case, I'm not drawing images. I probably didn't need actually either one of these. So you want to watch what you're doing. Another thing I want to mention is code interpreter. Be careful if you're using if you create a RAG system, if you have code interpreter clicked, people can download the files that you put into that RAG system. I'm going to show you that today. Okay. So we have all this and we're going to run it to see if it works. So let me go and actually run it for you. So if I go to my system and I look at all my different things and I click on jokes. Let me see if I can find that real quick. Jokes. It's going to bring it up and I can go down here and I can go tell a joke. And it's going to tell me a joke. Actually, it's going to ask me how many jokes I want to tell. Doesn't usually take this long, but there you go. How many jokes would you like to tell? Let's say 3. All right. And it's going to tell me 3 jokes. So what it's doing is reaching out to the jokes API, and it's bringing back those 3 jokes. The first one is, did you all hear about the professional jump roper? Never mind, skip it. It's really quirky jokes. Why did the elephant go to the doctor? He had a trunk ache. That's crazy. What do you call a cow with no legs? Ground beef. Terrible. So, and he says, do you want some more jokes? Yeah, give me 2 more jokes. And so he cooked 2 more jokes. So go out and get 2 more jokes for you. And say it seems like there may have been. Okay. All right. Cool. Oh, I didn't. I said you made an error. That's pretty nice. It's telling me I made an error. Put 2 in there. Okay, 2 more jokes. What did Socrates learn from T-Rex? I don't know. I know. Terrible. Did you hear the one they're republishing the Simple Mathematics Study Guide? It's the revised edition. Oh, dumb. And then finally, do you want to do more? And say, no, I'm just going to say finish, I'm done. And what the code's going to do, it's going to give me another joke because I programmed it to do that. And it shoots another joke out. So now that you've seen it work, let's go back and look at the code again. And you can see it's just doing exactly what I told it to do. Right, there it is right there. So if you go to that and you look at the code again, you can see that's what it did. It asked me how many jokes I want. I gave it the number. Then it went out and grabbed those jokes and generated them. And then it asked me at the end, do you want to do more or finish? I hit finish and it gave me another joke. So just what I told it to do. And the heart of this basically is basically the Action API. So there are thousands of APIs out on the web. So once you learn how to work with APIs and put the schemas in there, you can actually reach out and get these GPTs to pretty much do anything with API. Load your Google calendars. A lot of people use Zapier, but Zapier is not the only place where there's APIs. They're all over the place. The one we used for this was Ninja API. We'll take a look at that right now. So we've covered building a schema and adding. We haven't talked about the API key yet, or testing a schema. So let's talk about schemas. What a schema is, it comes from the API documentation, and it tells you how these systems should talk to each other. So in order to talk to an API, you need to have the right schema, and then you have to have an API key of some type. Now, some APIs don't use keys, but for the most part, the ones that have valuable information in them do. With that said, for this particular one, I used API Ninja. It has about 70 different APIs. Let's take a look at it real quick. All right. And then I'll pause for a moment if there's any questions. And if you have a question, feel free to stick it in the chat. And you can see on Ninja API, there's just tons. This is a great site. There's just tons of different APIs that you can reach out to. Embeddings, face detect, image detect, object detect, sentiment detection, about animals, cats, and dogs. There's a bucket list, celebrities, Chuck Norris, dad jokes, funny jokes. That's where I got mine from the jokes here. Hobbies. There's finance APIs. There's health and wellness. There's internet and technology miscellaneous places. Text, just all the types of different things. And if you have one here that you're interested in, once again, this is just a small fragment of APIs out there. Like I said, there's thousands. In this particular example, I just clicked on funny jokes. And if you have an account, you create an account and it's free. You just go to API, and what you do is you go and find the one you want to make an API out of, jokes. And then it shows you the API, how it runs. There's the kind of key and what the example output will be. And this is going to be very important for us here in a moment. We're going to use this to generate the API. No, excuse me, the schema. We'll use this to generate the schema. And then you're going to want to create and generate that API. Okay, let's click on that. Let's see my account. And you go to your account, and in your account, you can actually create the API key. And that's all there is. Now I won't show you my API key because I don't want to have to redo it. But you click on that, it creates an API key, and then you use that API key back in ChatGPT, and I'll show you that in a moment, okay? So with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at how you're going to generate that schema, because that's really what we want to do. So it's really easy to generate a schema. So what you really want to do is use this wording, go into ChatGPT and type create OpenAPI 3 spec, excuse me, OpenAPI 3 spec file, and use with your actions for this endpoint. And then you want to put in your API link, which I showed you. And then you want to make sure that to include the server URL and include the operational ID, and the response will look like the following. So if you go and take a look at that, if you paste all this into ChatGPT, it'll automatically generate that schema for you. So let's do that. We'll take the first part here. And all of this stuff I pulled from API Ninja. So I showed you that earlier. So let's bring our ChatGPT back up. And we're just going to bring up a new version of ChatGPT. And we'll paste that part in there. But you're not done yet, because you want to give you want to show the output. So that's the output. So let's go ahead and grab that output. And that's what you pull from Ninja API. It shows you the output of the joke. Right? Make sure that's all of it. And you put that in there. All right. And then it's going to automatically generate that schema for you. So I didn't have to write it. Isn't that amazing? Just ChatGPT is going to write it for me. So automatically, just using ChatGPT to write code for you, you're out there in the wild. There is your schema. Now you can have two types of schemas. You can have it in YAML, which is this in this form, or you can have it in JSON. So if you want it in JSON, just say turn it into JSON. Okay. And it's got everything in there, and actually has that get jokes. There it is right there. And you just rolled by, and everything's in there. Now, if you take this into ChatGPT and it doesn't work, just take the error and put in here. I say I got this error, fix it, and it'll fix it for you. And so once you've done that, then all you have to do is go back to your Explore, for example, and you take that, and we'll go to our jokes. Look at that. And you stick that into your schema. Right? And scroll down. There's my schema right there. And once you do that, it'll automatically generate the get method that you need to get the jokes. And what's great about ChatGPT is it'll actually give you these little test buttons. So you can click on the GPT and see if it works. In this particular case, it worked. Now, the reason it's working is because I put my API key in there. And that API key I got from Ninja. And where you put the API key is you scroll down just a little bit more. Here's where the API key goes. They just recoded it. It was at the bottom, but they've moved it to the top, which is fine. And so you can see in this particular case, you can use a custom API key. And you just paste it right here, and you hit save. And it's the X API key, and you can get that from the schema. So if you scroll down and look at the schema, you can see it says X API key, and that's really all there is to it. Once you've done that, you can save it, and you can actually be only you. You can save it as anyone with a link or public. Now, if you do public or anyone with a link, then you're going to want to have to put in a policy, a privacy policy in here. And I use the privacy policy from OpenAI. Okay. That's all there is to it. Then once you do that, you have a link now that you can just release for people to use. In this particular case, if you just click back on the jokes, you can see that link is right here. And I put that link in the slides. And that's how easy it is to build these different these GPTs to do work for you. And we're going to see two important ones today. One will be a RAG system that we use for preparing for this exam, and the other will be a financial system. All right. With that said, that might have been a lot for some of you guys. I don't know if some of you guys even knew some of this exists, that you could do this and you could do it so easily. Are there any comments? I'm open for some discussion here.
And did you say you can reverse engineer any of these GPTs?
I can do what?
Reverse engineer?
It's actually not too difficult to reverse engineer them because it's just all words. And so if you can figure out what those words are supposed to be, but if you look here, I actually have some GPT builders. So let me pull up one of my GPT builders for you and run that for you. Let me go back to Explore. They just changed the interface a little bit, which I'm really happy because they are actually watching what's going on and they're actually rebuilding the interface and making it easy to work with. But it is changing daily, so it's fun. Let's see here. Well, we'll look at Builder 2. What the heck? So if you click on Builder 2, for example, why don't you describe something you want me to build for you?
Be a cloud engineer,
Um,
AWS cloud engineer.
yeah, give me a GPT that helps me become a AWS cloud engineer. And you click on that, and it's going to actually write the GPT code for you. Yeah, okay, so that's just an example. So you can use generators and or you can start with their generator. So if you were to come along here and go, hey, make me a chat GDP, you can go from the beginning right here, and you can start with this create and say, create a program that helps me become an AWS cloud engineer. Right. And so it will start helping you do that as well. So it has its own cloud generator. It has its own GPT generator as well built in. I have a tendency to run right to config code and code from there, but this can be helpful. And so what this will do, it'll generate the initial code for you in the config file and also give you an icon that people will see that will be attractive and you can look at. Yeah. I will move on from this. You guys can play around with that and see what you think of it because we got a lot to cover. All right. Thanks for your question, by the way. I appreciate it so much. Was that helpful?
Yeah, thanks.
Excellent. Yeah, please feel free to ask more questions. So I showed you how to build a schema, and so we're going to go right in and start talking about the exam, give you a few examples of the exam questions. This is for the PL 300. I actually passed this exam on Thursday. I did the exam in 14 minutes, and I made a score of 906. Now, with that said, this is my 22nd cloud exam, so but the thing that allowed me to do it so rapidly was not that I'm really smart. It's just I had spent 100+ hours building the custom RAG GPT Study Buddy. And so after you spend 100 hours, building all the files for the RAG system, the system dead end, you just know it. And so I'll show you how that was built and how that Study Buddy was built. You could use that as an assistant to help you prepare for the exam. But it's not the most difficult exam, I'll say that, but it's one you do need to study for if you want to pass it. And Microsoft has an amazing material to help you with this exam. And that's where I pull a lot of it from. So the PL 300 Power BI Data Analyst exam covers 4 domains. First is preparing data. Next is modeling data, visualizing and analyzing data. That's the part I really loved because way back in my early career when I started, I was like a UI builder. And then deploying and maintaining the assets. So they're all about the same percentage. I think the big areas are the first 3, of course. For each domain, the exam will test specific areas related to PL 300. Pretty much you're using the BI or basically the Microsoft Business Intelligence tool, which is an amazing tool. The great thing about Microsoft is they let you download that tool to your desktop for free. So you can go ahead and use this link right here, and you can go right there and just download that, and you can start working with the actual system. So it's great. Now, once again, be careful putting company data in a system like this because once it's out there on the web, people have the potential of getting it. So don't put PII data in this, especially when you're practicing and you're learning. There are also and once you say, hey, I really like to go with this, and your corporate buys into this, then your corporation will have its enterprise level that people can't penetrate, right? And that you can set sensitivity levels on and keep data from being spread around. So wonderful. I think this is just an amazing system. And what Microsoft has, it just has an incredible learning docs. And actually, I copied all of these docs and put them in the RAG system I built. So when you're building essay questions or whatever, they're in the RAG system. So let me go ahead and go to these docs real quick so you can see how cool these are. I don't know if you've been to the Microsoft training docs, and some of them are, when I first started using Microsoft training docs, I went, well, they're okay. But now some of them, they're just getting better and better. Microsoft is really just kicking it, I gotta tell you. And you can see with their partnership with OpenAI, you can see they're really going forward to be the leader, continue to be the leader in technology. So with this said, if you click on these, you can see there's a whole bunch of courses that you modules that you can take to come up to speed on Power BI. I'll click on the first one, for example, and there's 2 modules in the first area, and then it's all about and it gives you a great introduction. There's a lot of video involved, and it walks you through everything you need to know about Power BI, and you can just keep going through these modules and learning more and more. Yeah. So I really think it was, I went through them, but once again, I copied them all for my RAG system. That said, and just keep going through them and walking your way through the different modules. Yeah. In addition to that, they also have labs with the modules. So in various portions throughout the curriculum, they'll have a Power BI lab that you can go to, and we'll look at that. And you can run these labs for free. Okay. And so if you say, I need a little extra help, I need someone to lead me through working through or walking through this, they'll have a whole lesson for you to walk through. And this lesson here was on loading data in Power BI. They're pretty cool. And so you just hit launch the lab, and it's going to launch the lab, and you can have all the tools you need, even Power BI there, I believe, to actually walk you through the lab. Yeah. So it's really a great tool to learn Power BI. Any questions on this before I move on?
Michael, I've got a quick question. You keep referring to RAG system. Have you gone over that? I'm sorry, what is that?
Yeah.
Like that, does that break down?
I'm prepping you for it.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
It's retrieval augmentation generation, and basically what it is
That's
a
right.
vector.
That's right. You said that.
It's a large language model talking to a vector database is what it is, and you're going to actually see one. So we're going to walk you through that. Okay. Thanks for asking the question, by the way. All right, cool. And so that's pretty much an introduction. I thought I'd do a few questions to get your feet wet for what was in the exam. You're going to find if you've done like some of the architect exams, you're going to go, oh, these are not too bad. So let's do a few of them. So we'll look at the first area, and I'll make sure I zip along here, and I'll just do one from each area, but I put a lot more questions in here for you guys to go along with. So here's the first question. This comes from topic 1. This is preparing data. So you have an Azure SQL database that contains sales transactions. The database is updated frequently. You need to generate reports from the data to detect fraudulent transactions. The data must be visible within 5 minutes of an update. How should you configure the data connection? So if you read the statements, well, I'll use an SQL statement. B, set the command timeout in minutes settings. Set the data connectivity mode to import. Set the data connectivity mode to direct query. Which one do you think? You need that data right away. So what do you think? Anybody want to guess?
Import.
Actually, import is actually something that you do daily. Say, I need that information daily. So you do it like an import daily or weekly. You do that import. But if you need the data right away, it's direct query. So that's why I'm saying these questions are actually fairly easy, but you need to study it, right? So, or it's not going to, it may or may not be intuitive, but in this case, it was direct connectivity. Let's skip over, and I have 2 more in this area, but I'll let you guys read those, and we'll go to topic 2. All right, and let me do the next one. Actually, I'll look at this one because it's actually really kind of tricky. Let's look at this one right here. You have a Microsoft Power BI data model that contains 3 tabs named Orders, Dates, and City. There is one-to-one relationship between date and orders and between city and orders. The model contains 2 rows, row level security roles named role 1 and role 2. So basically I can assign role level to you, and you have access or not access to particular roles and data. So that's good. And so role 1 contains a filter city equals Kentucky. Oh, I'm a Kentuckian. That works for me. And role 2 contains a filter date equals 2020 on. Okay, so the question is, if the user has both role 1 and role 2, what data will they see in a report that uses the model? So there's A is the user will see for which the state province value is Kentucky or where the calendar year is 2020. The user will receive an error. We'll throw that one out. The user will only see data from the state province value in Kentucky. We can throw that out because both roles have been added. Okay, so the user will see only data from the state province value in Kentucky and calendar year in 2020. So this is very interesting because now you have a conundrum. Is it an or is it an and? No. Do you see Kentucky data or calendar year, or do you see Kentucky and calendar year? What do you think?
Or
You got it. Yeah, you nailed it. Right. Because you got to think of it in terms of a Venn diagram, right? Because and means intersection, right? And or means all of it. So there you go. Good job. Good job. Okay, we'll move on to the next section. The next section is on that was modeling data. The next section is on visualization. This is a really easy one. You build a report to help the sales team understand its performance and drivers of sales. The team needs to have a single visualization to identify which factors affect success. Which type of visualization should you use? Key influencers, line and cluster column chart, question and answers, funnel chart. Which one, A, B, C, or D? And you know, this exam is pretty much like knowing the definitions, right? So you can go in there and you can actually do the entire course from Microsoft and maybe pass this exam, but you really actually need to study some questions and actually get it all into your brain. I think a lot of people, you need to do some type of question bank, and if you use what I have give you today, you can use that. We'll give you, you can use that, and it'll help you get prepped for the exam. So, what do you think? A, B, C, or D? Key influencers, line and cluster column chart, Q&A, or funnel chart? Absolutely, key influencers. That's an easy one. All right, with that said, we'll move on to the last one. I like this one as well. You'll see this on the exam. What a rule is, it actually sets what can be done. You know, if you're at a certain percentage and it's over that percentage, you have a rule, something kicks in. So these type of things you see on the exam a few times over and over again. Matter of fact, if I saw rules in a question, it was probably right. We'll skip on to the last section. Okay, let's see what's a good one. I like this one a lot, and I got two here. We're going to look at two real quick here because I think it's it's very subtle, and so you need to know the difference. So here it is. We grant users access to the dashboard of using the viewer role on the workspace. A user wants to receive daily notifications of the numbers shown on a card visual. So it might be a temperature, right? If it goes above, 30 degrees, send me an alert or let me know. You need to automate the notifications. What should you do? Create a subscription, create a data alert, share the dashboard to the user, or tag the user in a comment. What do you think? A, B, C, or D?
B.
You would think that's right. And let me tell you why that's not right. And I'm going to show you another one where it is. And what it is that this is the pub sub model. And what the pub sub model is that you subscribe to get the notification. You're not creating the alert. You just want to get the notifications. And that's the subtlety in this question. A user wants to receive daily notification. They want to receive a notification. So you're actually not setting an alert. You're subscribing to the alert. So that's that pub sub model that you constantly see in the cloud. And if you look at the next question, here's the one that's similar. Okay, so that is subscription. Sorry, I got off there. Now let's look at the next question. Here's the next question. But you can see the difference here. You have a Power BI dashboard that monitors the quality of manufacturing processes. The dashboard contains the following elements: a line chart that shows the number of defective products manufactured by a day, a KPI visual that shows the current daily percentage of defective products manufactured. You need to be notified when the daily percentage of defective products manufactured exceeds 3%. What should you do? It almost sounds like the same thing, right? But what you're doing here is you need to be notified when it exceeds 3%. So what it's doing is that you need to set something, right? You need to set up the card. So one is you're just subscribing to a pub sub. Here you're actually setting the alert. So that I just want to make sure you saw those two. So yeah, it's subtle. So that's kind of things you might see on this exam, subtle stuff like that. But you pin a visual to a dashboard and add an alert so you can be notified. So first you create the alert, and then you can subscribe to it to be notified. So yeah. With that said, those are just examples of what you might see on the test in the 4 different areas. Finally, case studies. I want to talk about case studies and how I approach case studies. This particular exam had some really long case studies. And the case studies could be like 3 pages. This is a short one, all right? And so if the case study is like 3 pages, it's typically what you have, the way the exam goes, the first part of the exam is all questions, and that's about 43 questions, just like the ones we went through. The second part of the exam is like 6 case studies. And these case studies can be really long. I mean, they can be like, so you spend all your time on the first 43 questions, right? And you get to the end of the exam, you have 6 case studies. Oh my Lord. And it's like, they're so long, I'm not going to finish the exam. And so what do? Well, you don't read the case studies. Most of the times, there's only like 3 pages of case studies. I mean, this is a short one, but I saw ones that were 3 pages. I can't read that. So when I do, the first thing I do, now you may have to go back and read some of the case study, but do your best to read as few of the case studies as possible and just go right to the questions. So let's look at this question now. What can the product manager do to set up notification to fill the requirements to be notified when they have reached their sales goals? Okay. So the key word here is setup. They need to set up something. So what do you think it is? Subscription, alert, key influencer, or measure notification? Once again, it's B. It's a data alert. It's that fine line between data alert and subscription, and so sometimes it's like, oh, which one? But once again, you didn't even need to go read the whole case study to get that. All right, you just said, oh, okay, well that's an alert. And for most of these, I found out a lot of the case studies weren't even related to the question. I thought it's just the architecture. So if you understand the architectures and how things are built and what they're looking for, you can typically get to these case studies pretty rapidly. Now, you can't all. Sometimes you have to read part of it and look back and read portions of where it's at in the case study and figure out what it is. And this is not true for all these exams. Some of these exams are questions are really closely tied to those case studies. But in this particular case, I found that if I just read the question, I could just figure out what the answer was without even reading the case study. Matter of fact, I did not read any of the case studies for my exam. I just read the questions, and it was pretty obvious to me which one was right because I knew the architecture that they were pushing toward. So that's kind of how that went. All right. So any questions about the exam? That's kind of the overlay of the exam, the overflow, how it goes. Anyone have any questions about it? My suggestions about exams is I always read the answers first. And then what I try to do is I try to think, well, what kind of architecture are they talking about? What are they selling me? Like if you're taking an AWS exam, and someone mentioned becoming an AWS architect. If you're taking an AWS exam, you always think about managed services. If in the question it's a managed service, it seems to always be the right answer. And the reason that being is things could be very complicated and you can do a lot of coding. And what the cloud is supposed to do is make it easy. So managed services or services just take care of everything for you. And that's what many times Amazon's trying to sell. So if you have a question, you see managed service, many times that's the answer. I just click on the managed service, I move to the next question, I don't think about it. So lots of times, if you know some of these tricks and you understand how some of these questions are asked, you can just read the answers and you immediately know. Now, that's not always the case. Many times I like to think of things in terms of keywords. So I'll look for a word in the answer and look for a word in the question. And if the 2 words are there, then we know that's the answer. Those keywords that go together, Okay, right. So if you take a lot of these exams, you know all the tricks. All right, with that said, let's take a look at our study buddy. Yes, I created an Azure 300 tutorial or tutor or a study buddy. We're going to take a look at it real quick right now. But any questions before I move on? Does anyone else have their favorite study tips that they use when they take these exams? All right, so let's take a look at the tutor. And then we're going to walk through it, let it do its thing. And then we're going to talk about how it was built. This is a RAG system. So someone mentioned it. What's a RAG system? You're about to see it. So if I put this in my address bar and I open that up, make that bigger so everyone can see it. Let me make this bigger. You can see that what I have here is just a start button. And so I'm just going to start it off. Now, this is the first RAG tutor I've built like this. And so it's in a sense, I think it's still a work in progress. You can see get a lot from it, but I think I get a lot more. So let me go ahead and start it off. And so what it's going to do, it's going to go through and it's going to look at the syllabus. And it's going to give me a summary of the syllabus. So welcome to the PL 300 tutor program. And it's going to be a summary of the syllabus. And it's going to ask me, once it's get that syllabus, is there a topic that you're interested in learning? Okay. So yeah, I'm interested in learning all about data models. That's correct. A data model. Design and implementation data models. So I can put that in there. And then what it's going to do, it's going to dig into the data, the vector database of all that stuff I put in there. And it's going to go through there and figure out, what areas would be important in learning from that. What can I create a lesson for you for? So it's going to create all those lessons for you. And it's going to ask you, hey, are you interested in all of these, or is it a specific one? And I'm kind of interested in setting up and defining properties. Let's put that. Okay. Actually, you know what? I like RLS. This is the role level security. Let me choose that one. I'm interested in that. The reason I chose that one because we mentioned it earlier. So let me paste it in there. And so what it's going to do now, it's going to go into that vector database I've created, and it's going to look for that information, and it's going to create a lesson, okay, about that particular topic. I think someone mentioned they had written a storybook, a GPT that writes stories for their kids, and this is kind of the same thing. It's going to go into that vector database and pull all the information and write that tutorial story for me. All right, so it's telling me all about role level security, and it's going to go through that. But then what it's going to do is actually going to create some exam questions for me. What's really cool about this is what's so amazing, is you've built an exam simulator almost. But more than that, none of these questions are going to be the same. In an exam simulator, you have 1,000 questions, you get a 60, you keep doing it over and over again. Eventually, you've answered all the questions. This is not the case. All the questions are always different. It's just amazing. So it's an exam simulator on steroids. And so now it's going to start creating those questions for you to prep you for the exam. So the first question is, in Power BI, what is the primary purpose of implementing row-level security? A, to improve report performance. B, to restrict access to specific rows of data. C, to prevent users from exporting data. Or D, to organize data more efficiently. You can see the answer is B, to restrict users to specific rows of data. And it's going to give you a solution when that's true. And it's going to ask you, would you like another topic from the syllabus, or would you like to finish? And so you could actually choose another topic. And if not, you can just say finish. And it'll finish for you. And then we're gonna take a look at the code here real quick. Okay.
Are you going to load this into were you doing Udemy classes as well, or are you loading this into some type of course question and answer?
I guess this is a really good question. Can I use this to build a Udemy course, right? And so you've kind of, yeah, you sure can. And I have not done that yet, but that's in my scope for sure. Yeah. Thank you for asking that question. So with that said, you can actually, and we'll take a look at it real quick. And so if you go to Explore and you actually look at the Azure Tutor, we're going to show you how it was built. Okay. And these are actually really, really easy to build. You don't even use actions for these. And so let me go ahead and go to it real quick, and then we'll take a look at the code. And so if you go to the configuration, and you're going to see a lot of strange things. Okay, so let me just open up the strangeness of it all. Right now, you see these 4 files here. What is that? Well, these are where I took that 100 hours plus of work for me to actually build these out. So one is the syllabus. The other is the lessons. Okay, and so those lessons, that's all that Microsoft documentation. I copied it all. All right. The other is an extensive case study PDF, and the other is extensive questions. Now, this is very interesting because the questions that you get back are not these exact questions. The case studies that you get back are not these exact case studies. These actually steer you to different places in the lessons knowledge space, and it gives you questions like that, and you get those back, which are pretty amazing. This is just really overwhelmingly incredibly interesting. And then notice I don't need web browsing because I'm doing it all from here. I don't need DALL-E because I'm not drawing images, and I don't need code interpreter. And I don't want code interpreter because if I put code interpreter on my RAG system, it's going to actually enable people to download this data. Okay. So now let's take a look at what I actually have it doing, and then we'll take a look at the data. Okay. And how easy it is to load. So you open this up, and it's really not that bad. There's only 6 steps. And this is what you do. It's that simple. All right. This is really simple stuff. And I put all this in the slides, so you can build it today. So the first one is, from knowledge, provide a detailed syllabus. So we got knowledge right here. That's what's called as knowledge. So I just would use that name. I don't know if I needed to do that, but I could probably just say build a detailed syllabus, and it'll pull from that. Step 2, research in knowledge the chosen topic and create study outline of the chosen topic. So I told it to choose the topic in the first line. Is there a question? Go ahead. All right. So first one is go from knowledge, build a syllabus, choose a topic. Second one is research and knowledge, the chosen topic, and give me an outline. And then it gives you an outline. Ask it if they would ask the user if they would like if they would like a lesson on the elements of which element of the outline. So, and then write a lesson from the knowledge on all the specific elements that the user has chosen. And then it must come from the knowledge. And give me, I told you to give 300 words for each area. And then you want to write a multiple choice question. You saw it do that. And then you can write a case study. We skipped over the case study today. Okay. So there you have it. It does it all for you. And that's all there is to it. And really all you have the work was in building the data systems that you upload. And so if you want to give you an example, so if you wanted to build one of these yourself, it would be pretty easy to do. All you have to do is go in here and we can explore, and you can create a GPT, and then you want to go in your config and you want to upload the data right here, say upload files, and choose the file that you want to upload. And then you can question against that file. That's all there is to it. So in this particular case, I could go to, see here, say maybe, I'll show you the documents that I used. I won't upload these. We've got another example I want to get through, and we have just enough time to do that. So I'm going to bring this here. Let's go back to the slides and I'll walk you through what I just did. All right. So in this particular case, we built this tutor. And so what a RAG retrieval augmentation system is, a RAG system is basically what you do is you have a vector database and you're going to query that vector database using the large language model. So you're like talking to it and it's going to come back with like a human response. That's pretty much all a RAG system is. And in this particular case, these are the steps that I use to build that tutor. And so you can see it's just human language. You're not doing code anymore. You're just writing human language. Now on the back end, it's turning it into Python. But you're just writing human language. And then the guts of this system is whatever you upload to the knowledge system. And it questions against that knowledge base. It's pretty amazing. Let's take a look at one or two of these so you can see the code. See the knowledge base. So if you open up one of these, take a look at the lessons, for example. I just uploaded this PDF of all the lessons. Now I had to go through and copy all this into from Microsoft into here, but now it has this whole database of facts, that it can go and pull information from, create questions, and augment those questions I put in to make better questions. So and all I did is told it to upload this file. So you can, if you're creating your own GPT, right? You can just drag and drop it in or just hit upload and it'll upload and question against that file. So that's how easy it is actually to build one of these. With that said, I do want to hit Code Interpreter and show you how amazing that is against Power BI. But let me stop and ask you if there's any questions because I went really fast. Go ahead. Yeah, Ray said, take practice exams over and over. Yes, I agree, Ken. Yeah, practice exams definitely help. That it doesn't matter how much you study. If you're not prepped for the exams, you can go in there and get nervous and get confused and not recognize the questions. I don't know how many times I've gone in and taken a question and thought, I have no idea what this means, and then walked out, oh, that's what they were asking. Didn't know how they were asking. So lots of times taking practice exams can help you prepare your mind to answer any question that comes your way. Thanks, Kent, for that question. Any questions so far about this? And by the way, guys, you can use this. If you have ChatGPT Plus, you just go here to this link right here, put it in, and it's out there to the public to use for free. So there you go. And just please once again, I would try to build something like this. Just take the slides, go to ChatGPT Plus, click in and build your first one and do stuff like this. Now, one of the things you see I do, I have the start button in quotes because it acts like a function. I say go through these 6 steps and actually chains and go through each step individually. So it's kind of a trick that I use for building these. So I've got a few minutes, so let me just show you loading a data file into ChatGPT, and then we'll move on to our last topic. I'll show you Code Interpreter. Let me go to Edge, excuse me. And say I want to build my own. Then I would hit upload files. And then I would look for, let me go back one because I'm not in the right place. There you go. PL 300 was where I want to be. And say maybe I wanted to upload questions right here, PL three questions, and I've turned it into a PDF. Okay, so I'm gonna upload that, and what's it going to do? It's going to start uploading that, and you can see what it's doing now is chunking that data and embedding that data into a vector database. So we used to have to go out to like Pinecone and build our own vector databases, and then integrate them with a front-end system like this with a large language model using LangChain or some other piece of code. But now they've got it all embedded into these GPTs that you can build. So any topic that you're interested in, you can put it in here and question against it. Okay. So we're going to let this load real quick. It's a lot of questions here. I think I have like 400 questions in this database. So that's where all the work was. That's why I did so well in the exam, because I'd had to go through research and make sure that every single question was correct. So I spent hours, making sure the question database was correct. And so you see it's uploaded now. So let's have it do something. Give me an exam question. And that'll be the name, exam question. And by the way, I want to say for Power BI, ChatGPT is terrible for answering exam questions. It just gets most of them wrong, or at least half of them wrong. So that's not usual for ChatGPT. Usually it does pretty good on exam questions, but it didn't do well on here. So I really had to put some work into this database. Yeah, so exam, ask a question.
You'd think it would, being a Microsoft product.
Yeah, it didn't do well on Power BI. But does on other exams, but not on Power BI. So what? Let's see. Let's say when I click start, um, create a multiple choice question about PL 300, and give a detailed solution about detailed solution of the correct answer, something like that. Now, if you make a spelling error, it doesn't care. It corrects it for you. I mean, you can. I make spelling errors now. They now have spelling correction, which they didn't have at first. So I'm going to see if this works. I'm going to put something here, hit start. I don't know if it's going to work, but we'll see what happens. But what I'm showing you guys is you can now program as fast as you can think, which is really pretty incredible. And so you can test it. You don't even have to, save it. So let's see if it works. It's searching the knowledge base. That's a good sign. And it does take a little bit of a while because it's actually, it's going through that vector database, especially the first time as well. And let's see if we can get it. Oh, you are working as a data analyst on Data Line Ltd. It actually gives you a little scenario here for a particular company. To meet the reporting requirements of a regional manager, you need to add a month, year column to the date, and using the DAX expression, which one do you use? A, B, C, or D? They say in this particular one, the correct question is C. And well, they have it. And I'm looking at wondering if that's right. The looks like B would be the correct answer. So this actually I may have to go back and look at my database and see if I screwed this up. So once again, it may have hallucinated. Oh my goodness. I'll have to check this one out. So anyway, of course it would give me one that was wrong, right? So give me another one. Give me a question RLS, role level security. I should feel pretty comfortable on that one. Let's go out and search the database and give me a question. And then we need to hop over and do the last example for you guys. What do you think so far?
This is great.
Yeah, besides the glitch there, but and it's gonna give me a question. And we won't walk through the question, but yeah. So I think what I should have done in this right here is, given that I got the wrong answer, I might have put only use, only use. And if you do it in capitals, it really doesn't. Only use the knowledge base. Only use knowledge. And the reason I say that is because ChatGPT can use both. It has its trained model, it has its trained system, it also has the knowledge system. If it goes out there and pulls from its trained system, it may get it wrong. So in some cases, you may have to say, only use this, only do that. to keep it from actually hallucinating. Because I think in that first question, we actually got hallucination. So just be aware of that. And as you work with these systems and you gain knowledge of what it's doing, you'll see that sometimes you don't want it to go to the web and pull a question. You don't want it to use what's inside the learning management system. You only want it to use what's in your knowledge system in that area. Yeah, thanks for your question. That was kind of comical. All right, we're going to run real quick to the last system that I think is really fascinating. I can't wait to show you. It is also a RAG system and is really cool. So let me go to that real quick and we'll move on. And so the last system is a financial system, and it uses code interpreters. So all this work we're doing with Power BI can rapidly be done with code interpreters. This is pretty fascinating. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go to Kaggle. And so if you guys have done any type of artificial intelligence, you may have used Kaggle. And Kaggle has lots of data systems for you. And I'm going to pull the Brazilian e-commerce Kaggle data set. So let me just show you the site real quick and show you where I'm going with this. And I'm going to analyze, I'm going to build a RAG system. Build a RAG system to analyze the data of the Brazilian e-commerce system. So let's bring that up. And so if you go to Kaggle, you can just go ahead and just download the whole file. Now, and it's going to give you a zip. I'm not even going to unzip it. I'm going to throw the whole zip file into to the GPT. So, and if you look at this real quick, if you look at the system, it talks about it a little bit. And you can view more on it. It's actually going to give you the schema of the system. And so it's a database schema. It's centered around order details right here. It says here's an order data set, and it's got an order items list thing, and it's got a seller's database. It's got all these different databases that you're going to have ChatGPT, your GPT system, analyze. Okay. So imagine you get a data system, you don't know anything about it, and you want to investigate it, see what the schema is. You're not giving this diagram. You want to basically have it tell you what all the tables do, and then you want to do some analysis on it, and that's what this GPT is going to do. So I'm going to bring it up and run a GPT and show it to you, and we'll talk about how it was built, and that will pretty much wrap up the session for today. So let me go ahead and do that, and so I'm going to come down here. And by the way, don't be afraid of Spanish anymore, because if you go to the system and it's in Spanish. Let's do this real quick. This is actually the e-commerce system that was analyzed, by the way. This is kind of like it's the Spanish version of or Portuguese version of our eBay, I think. And so you can see it's in Spanish. Well, who cares? Right? You just take that and go into ChatGPT, right? And say translate to English. So you put that in there and translate to English. It's going to give you you go, oh, I can read that. It's English, right? So we're a few steps away from wearing translators, like Star Trek. You have translators on your shirt that you can just talk to people. So Portuguese to English, end-to-end solutions for selling online without a headache, and that's exactly what that says. Ponte e ponte, ponte e ponte, end-to-end. So there you go. Yeah, so you are no longer restricted or kept back from language barriers anymore. We've solved that Tower of Babel problem. Isn't that wonderful? So let's actually go to this RAG system that I built, and let me bring up the different systems here. And I called this, I think it was a financial data analyst system. Let me scroll down. Data set analysis. So we're going to analyze the Brazilian e-commerce Kaggle data set, and we're just going to go ahead and just run it so you can see it work, and then we'll talk about how it was built. So we're going to start this system up, and what it's going to do, it's going to go into that zip file that I put in the knowledge system, and it's going to look at it's going to kind of unzip it because it's actually put it into the knowledge base. Okay, so it chunked it, embedded it, and put it into its vector database. Now it's looking at the files in that vector database, and it's going to tell me about each one of the different files in that database and what it thinks it's doing. Okay, it's going to do that first. Takes a moment to go in there and look at it. It's a pretty large set. I mean, a lot of these systems had 100,000 rows, so it's a pretty big system. And you had like 8 or 9 files. So there you go. It's going to tell you but it's going to tell you what's in it. And this is one of the things I really love about this system. Is sometimes you just say, "What do you have?" And it's going to give you what it has. And so it's going to tell you about each one of those different database or data sets that it has in its system. There you go. And what they do. What do you think? Now you could do this in Power BI, but it's going to take you a lot longer. And see, what I'm saying is this is a system you're having a conversation with. So with Power BI, you have to do a lot of training to be able to do all that, and you drag screens around, you do this and you do that. But with this system, you just have a conversation with it. And now you say, well, give me a graph diagram. Show me how everything's connected. So this is pretty much the schema. It's going to build the schema out for you. So now it's analyzing. Now it's looking at all these different tables and seeing how they're connected. So how are these tables connected? I don't know how you figure that out with Power BI, but you say, how is it? Tell me how it's connected. Now, Power BI does have an AI component now, so you could probably use the AI to figure this out. Or I can just tell it. I can write a program just by telling it what to do, and it does it. And the thing about it is, once this is done, you want something else, you can just type it in, give me this, and it'll give you that. So there it is. It's going to show you the schema. In this particular case, it didn't show it connected as it usually does for me, so I had to run it again. But it's going to explain to me how everything's connected. Let's take a look at the slides real quick as it does that. And I'll show you what slides gave me. ChatGPT. So I may have to do a little bit more coding to make it more consistent to make sure I get that every time, like put in caps. But what I did here, and here, this is the actual schema that when I ran it, when I built it the first time. That shows how everything's connected, and that does match up with the schema here. Okay. The demo gods were not kind to me on the particular demo. The next thing I did was really fascinating as I asked it, well, what can I do? What can I analyze? So, and it says, look, these are the things that you can analyze: sales table, sales analysis, customer segmentation, payment analysis, profitable analysis, seller performance analysis. So someone tell me, what would you like this to analyze? Someone say, choose one of those.
Profitability.
Let's do that. Let's grab that real quick. We'll copy it, and we'll put it in here and ask for a profitability analysis. So it's really cool. It told me what I could do. And so it's going to go through there and it said, hey, great choice. Hey, it made me feel good. Yeah, there you go. It's going to start looking through that, doing the estimations for me. I will do it's going to give me a graphic. Wow, that's pretty cool. So I would have to program all this in Power BI. This is just talking to the system and it's going to give it to me. That's what's so fascinating about this technology. I mean, this is like, I have a CPCU, so I know a little bit about finance. Now I'm an expert, right? It's insane. That's why I'm talking about, you get 10,000% efficiency.
So are you going to use GPT to do your taxes this year?
No. That's the one thing. I'm glad you mentioned that because you got to be very careful what you put in here, right? Because you don't want that to get out. So it's going to be analysis here. I will perform the analysis. And we got about, 9 minutes, so we're doing pretty good. The one thing I want to convey to you guys is just how simple it is to build these things and how they really do make your life a lot easier. They don't, and sometimes you have to go in there and do a little bit more writing to get consistency. But yeah. Well, there you go. That's a pretty beautiful chart. And so if you look at that, I don't know if you guys are financial analysts. Like I said, I know only a little. So you can scroll, take a look at that. There you go. I will now perform the analysis, does the analysis for you. The graph above displays and explains it to you. It explains the top 10 product categories in Brazil e-commerce data set by profitability. It shows total sales, freight cost, and estimated profits for each category. The visualization helps to understand which product categories are most profitable, considering both sales and associated freight law costs. Watch out, stock market, here I come. A lot of people are using the same technology to analyze stock markets. And there was one that I didn't show today that builds a heat map that shows you how different stocks are connected to other stocks. So if one stock goes up, that goes up. There's another thing you can do is called sentiment analysis. So if you get onto a particular site, you're watching the social, how people are talking about things. You can automatically tell from an emotional perspective if a stock is going to go down or up. So a lot of people are using these technologies to invest. And they're finding they're better than actually using investors. So, but then again, it can hallucinate. So be aware of hallucination. So you want to choose another category? Someone choose another category for me to analyze.
I would say customer segmentation.
Okay,
What we saw, it looks like it'd be women for the health products.
let's go take a look at this real quick. All right, paste it in. And it's going to go through and do the analysis for you. And it's beautiful. It's lovely. All right. Doing the analysis. I'm not sure why it shot it back again at us, but it did. Oh, no, it actually told us what it's going to do. Okay, cool. Segment customers, calculate average purchase value, calculate purchase frequency, calculate customer value, estimate customer lifetime value. and it explains what each one of those are. Project that project the customer's value over a typical customer lifetime. Well, this is pretty cool. I mean, like, I never heard of that concept before, but now I understand it. And I'm about to see a graphic that shows it to me. So you guys see a lot of, you get exponential increase in knowledge, right? Exponential increase in the ability to learn. And you're going to see customized tutors, knowing where you're at, giving what you need to learn very rapidly. I mean, this pretty much blows the doors off of education as well. And a lot of people had to think about how to reinvent themselves in the wake of this technology. And then we have some time left over to talk about the hackathons, which is good. All right. Let's see what we got here. I think it's going to give me a number of charts. So there you go. It's going to walk through there and give me a number of charts. Let's see what we got here. Oh, that was the only one. So it was not that impressive, but there you have it. I'm done. So conclude. And there you go. And it's going to tell me what it did. So that is the end. And let's take a look at how it was built. Okay. So if we go to ChatGPT and take a look at it. So I'm going to go and just, cancel this. You can see it prints out what we did. And then we can actually go here and now take a look at how it was built. And let's see if I can find it because I have so many. There you go. Actually, I want to go to Explore. And you can explore. This is really simple. You guys can go, wow, that was really easy. And let it come up. And then we're going to go right to the data analyzer. And really, all you're going to see here, guys, is that system that I downloaded from Kaggle. There it is right there. It's just a zip. Download the zip. There's a file. And then here's my start button. And all I did was build that configuration file. And all that is in that configuration file is the following. Let's just bring it up for you guys. Number one, after clicking start, do the following 5 steps. Analyze the file Brazil e-commerce and provide the name and purpose of each of the data sets in it. So you saw that. Gave me the names of the data sets. Tell me what they did. 2, examine the data sets and create a data schema. Provide a detailed graph diagram of the data schema showing all connections. Keep the circles small and spread the graph out so the words can be easily read. Now, notice in this particular first example, when I ran it several times, I always got the lines and everything connecting. In this example we got back, we didn't see the connecting lines, and the demo gods weren't good to me. But I'm not sure if that's their system or mine, or if I need to write some more exacting code. Like maybe I need to put this in capitals. Like maybe if I put in capitals, show all the connections. If I put that in capitals, maybe that, showing all connections, if I put that in capital, it may emphasize I want to see those connections. So I may have to work with the code a little bit. And the great thing about these GPTs is that when I worked at the APIs, you're charged every time you use an API. So you're working with, Hugging Face, or you're working with another system, you're charged every time you use those external systems. But with ChatGPT, I get to bang away, whack away at this, and it's not charging me. It's just the $20 a month. Now, what will happen is I'll use it so many times, it'll cut me off for 2 hours. Says you've gone past your limit, which I go all the time. Makes you wait for 2 hours. But I got to do a lot of iterative work and figure out how this stuff is thinking and talking without having to pay an API cost. So it's this great place to develop. And you're just developing in words. The next one was list the types of financial analysis that you can do. And it gave it to me, and it says, well, perform the financial analysis chosen by the user. And it did that and gave me graphics, do a graphic analysis. It did that as well. And then ask if they would like to choose another one or finish. And you got this little subroutine here in words, summarize the activities performed on the data set. That's all there is to it. It's that easy. And insane, incredibly insane to write stuff that does amazing things now using this simple technology. And that brings me right to 3:28. I have 2 minutes to spare. Are there any questions before I talk about the hackathons?
Is there a way to
I was curious, how much do you think there's going to be need for developers going forward in the future?
That's a very challenging question. I think if you're doing AI development, you're going to have a good job for a while. I think there's going to be, what's going to happen is there's going to be new products that we never could imagine. That's what I'm doing every day is aha die. Oh, I can do that now. I can do this now. So as far as coding is concerned, it's going to be harder for new coders to get in, right? The old coders that can code 1,000,000 miles an hour, and now with this are going to code 1,000,000 miles an hour. So it's going to be challenging. But I wouldn't give up coding yet because it's still very much needed. But over the next 5 years, you're going to see some real big changes. Matter of fact, with multimodal, You got a Scrum Master that can just draw a diagram and it'll write the code. So yeah, you're going to see people who weren't able to do things before can do them now. So what you need to think of it like this: think of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. At the very top is self-actualization. Well, you can now transcend self-actualization. You say, well, I was a writer, so I wrote. I was a painter, I could paint. No, now you can do more than that. I was a writer, now I can create websites. I was a developer, but now I wrote my own code. So there's things that you can do that you were never able to do before. And that's, I think, what's going to happen is that you see an expansion of things, of people going aha moments, going all over the place and creating things they never thought they could. We have to do this responsibly, though, because if we don't, you're gonna have people just, if you just stay status quo and you're not creating new products, then yeah, there's gonna be very difficult for people. But definitely, it's changing what you can do and who's gonna be doing it. Yeah, it's just what's called democratizing technology. I think that's the right word. And that it really has opened up the playing field for people who couldn't do things before to do them now. Did that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, no,
trying
I
to-
mean, like,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
pretty cool. Like, I've done coding for my jobs before, and yeah, like, it's just amazing.
yeah,
Like having an
yeah.
idea and then, yeah, it just writes it for you. So,
You can now program as fast as you can think, and that's just amazing. I'm having a lot of
yeah.
fun. I'm having a lot of fun for sure. But it's a little bit scary for some people, but I don't think so. I think it's going to generate more work, not less. All right. So I do a lot of hackathons, and you can get to hackathons by going to lab AI. All right. And so I'm going to put this in the so if you guys want to go to lab AI, you can do that. And I'll show you some of the hackathons I'm involved with right now. Let's see here. This weekend, I'm actually working on a Gemini hackathon. I'm actually involved in that right now. So that's probably not open for anyone to really join, but it's over on the 22nd, and I'm just working through it on the weekend. I have one spot for next gen GPT AI hackathon. So what you guys want to do if you want to join that, you want to go in there, become a member, and then send me your username and tell me you want to be on my team and put you in it. But I only got one spot. You can have 6 people. This is coming up December 26th to January 10th. I have, excuse me, and I have it's open, okay, a place for 5 people. So if you want to join the Accelerate Innovate, please just go there. You have to register for the hackathon, and then you're going to send me your username, and I'll put you in the hackathon. So yeah, and so as they come up, I'm going to be doing them, and I guess I should announce them that we have spots for you guys to join up. I am doing one on the 21st, the 22nd. It's a Stable Video Diffusion one, which is really interesting. 2-day hackathon. It's wide open. If you guys want to join, you can go to that one and register and send me your username, and I will put you in.